I will stand before the United Nations Security Council to say this. No more excuses.
Eli Sharabi was held captive as a hostage in the tunnels of Gaza by Hamas for 491 days, and now he lives to tell the tale. And he has gone to the UN to tell them off for their complete and utter failures to do anything for the hostages in Gaza. Listen to this.
No more delays. No more moral blindness. You cannot claim to stand for humanity and abandon those who are still in hell. Bring them all home. Now, I was given almost no food, no water, and no mercy. I was treated worse than animal. I was fed a piece of pita a day, 491 days of starvation.
Can you imagine that? Only a piece of pita bread every single day for 491 days. And I'll show you in a moment the picture of when he was just released by Hamas, and you can see how horrifyingly skinny he is. But just the fact that he survived is a miracle.
Of being chained underground. And no one came. No one in Gaza helped me. The civilians saw us suffering, and they cheered our kidnappers. They were definitely involved. Through it all, I held on to the hope that I would see my family again.
This is really
When I was
heartbreaking.
released, I said, "Get me my wife and daughters." And that was when I knew. They were gone. They had been murdered.
So this poor guy, he had no idea in those 491 days that he was stuck in those tunnels that his wife and kids had actually been murdered on October 7th. But because he didn't have a phone, he didn't have any Wi-Fi or anything, right? He literally had no idea, and he was hoping the whole time that he will be reunited one day with his wife and kids, to then find out that the whole time they would get dead. It was absolutely shocking. And here I'm going to show you the him arriving at this UN Security Council, and you can see the lovely warm welcome he gets from people who are in his corner.
We will never stop.
Lots of Israeli flags, lots of lovely flowers. What a strong man, absolutely incredible. And here we go, here is the photo of him on the left hand side of that day he was released by Hamas. You may recognise that picture from that day where they had a load of hostages lined up that they were releasing as one of the first hostage releases, and they tried to put on a show to make it look like they were nice kidnappers. So they gave all of the hostages a bunch of literally gave them goodie bags. I don't know what was in the goodie bags, but they gave them goodie bags, made them smile for the cameras. We saw one of them go over and whisper to one of the hostages and say, hey, give the Hamas terrorists, give him a big kiss on the cheek before you go and show it to the camera. I mean, it was a complete show. Everyone was absolutely horrified about the way the hostages were handed over. But anyway, there you see him on the right with Donald Trump. Donald Trump recently spoke to a load of the hostages that were released and heard their stories. And this is, the most heartbreaking thing really about this story to me is that this guy was waiting to see his wife and kids once again, and he had no idea that they had died on October 7th. They were massacred by the Hamas terrorists. Okay, don't let anyone tell you these guys are freedom fighters. Oh, they're only going after the military. No, they brutally murdered and raped innocent young women and children, and the girls in that photo are an example of those. And so we have in this tweet here that he said, a quote, "For 491 days I dreamed of seeing them. When I arrived I discovered they had been slaughtered." And you can see also, if you look at him in the photo, you can see how different he looks now compared to them. You can see how they absolutely starved him for those 491 days. He looks like a skeleton now. He's looking a little bit healthier for that compared to the day that he was released, sure, but my God, the torture that he went through. I mean, what a brave man. But the really shocking thing here in this story is how the UN completely failed. At the UN, the Red Cross, where were they? Where were they? They did not do anything to try to get food to these hostages, to try and help them. And also another thing that he mentioned there is how the civilians in Gaza, they saw the hostages suffering, and instead, you know, they just laughed at them and they, you know, clapped for the kidnappers. And you know, he really showed there how the population in Gaza absolutely is still indoctrinated by Hamas. You would have thought that this war would have shown the people of Gaza how awful Hamas are. You know, the way that they use them as human shields is absolutely vile and disgusting, but the indoctrination is just so embedded and so deep that even though some Gazans have seen Hamas's true colours, a lot of them are still indoctrinated and, you know, are still clapping for them and cheering for them. It's just absolutely sickening. And we've now seen a resumption to the fighting in Gaza, Israel attacking again because, you know, the hostages have not all been handed over, and there is no guarantee whatsoever in place yet that Hamas are not still going to be in charge in Gaza, just preparing and rearming and getting ready for another October 7th. It's a sad state of affairs, and as he says, bring them home now. Bring them home now. Anyway, I'm Chloe Dobbs. Thank you very much for watching this video. Subscribe to Reasoned if you haven't already.